Starmer, Macron, and Merz have gravely miscalculated by being unwilling to accept that the center of geopolitical gravity has shifted, writes Wolfgang Munchau. Follow this is page for more update on international news. Wolfgang Munchau, Europe's leaders have failed to grasp their own weakness. That tragically makes Russia stronger. Starmer, Macron, and Merz have gravely miscalculated by being unwilling to accept that the center of geopolitical gravity has shifted. When the First World War started in August 1914, many people thought that it would be over by Christmas. Our delusions about the Russia-Ukraine war are of a greater magnitude. We want Russia to lose and Ukraine to fight for as long as it takes, ideally forever. A related delusion is the idea that Russia will remain cancelled for all times, its assets frozen, the perennial persona non grata of the international diplomatic circuit and in international sports. People naturally struggle to envisage a post-war era while war is still raging. The Russia-Ukraine war will almost surely end with some kind of a settlement at some point. When that happens, many people will struggle with the inevitable uncanceling of Russia. The more you are prone to thinking that Ukraine can still win, the more you will struggle. The relationship will not return to the status quo ante, but it will normalize because business wants to do business, as it always does in peacetime. One of the reasons the West is not on the winning side is that it repeats the age-old mistake of underestimating Russia. It started long before Napoleon's invasion in 1812. During the Polish-Russian War in the early 17th century, the troops of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth got all the way to Moscow, but were eventually repelled. The Swedes tried and failed in the Great Northern War in the early 18th century. That ended with a catastrophic loss for Sweden. It is happening again. In March 2022, a U.S. Undersecretary for Defense claimed that Russia was running out of precision-guided munition. The rating agency Fitch said in the same month that a Russian default was imminent. A retired U.S. general predicted that the war would be over by Christmas. Later in October that year, Andrei Illarionov, a former economic advisor to Putin, predicted that Putin would run out of money and foreign reserves within a year. The European Union passed 19 sanctions packages against Russia, claiming each time that this would deprive Putin of the means to fight his war. The Europeans got this completely wrong. Russia has outgrown all the Western economies since the war. Unlike the countries of the West, it adopted a war economy that benefited from a Keynesian demand push. In those years, it has made itself independent of the dollar-based global financial system. Russia does not need dollars and euros to produce tanks and missiles. If anyone right now suffers a financial squeeze, it is the European countries. After Donald Trump withdrew his support for Ukraine, the Europeans have found that they don't have the fiscal space to the extent needed for Ukraine to win the war. We even got the basic statistics wrong. We underestimated the size of the Russian economy. A standard way to compare the size of economies is to use their economic output, measured in dollars. But this gives us a misleading picture when we are trying to compare yourself to an economy like Russia that is cut off from the dollar markets. The right way to do is to measure the Russian economy based on what Russian money buys. The so-called purchasing power parity measure is also used by the World Bank. It tells us what we want to know: how many weapons Russia can produce. On that metric, you will find that Russia is bigger than Germany. When the war started and the ruble collapsed briefly, people took comfort from the misleading observation that based on the misleading dollar metric, the Russian economy was the size of the Netherlands. It absolutely is not. Also, misjudge.